On a beautiful spring Canterbury day, the ugly reminders of that fateful Saturday morning cut through fields all across the region. This pasture damage is called liquefaction, and it occurs when wet underlying sediment breaks through the topsoil, creating small mounds or blisters. Researchers from Canterbury and Lincoln universities have been measuring, testing and analysing the soils around here for the 6 weeks since the 7.1 magnitude earthquake on September the 4th.
The shaking from the earthquake has turned wet, solid sediments beneath Christchurch and other parts of the Canterbury Plains into a liquid.
A lot of the damage occurred around fields on lifestyle blocks, affecting farmers who may not have all the equipment or expertise of their full-time counterparts. This farm, whose owner preferred not to be named, was particularly hard hit by sand damage.
You take the topsoil off the high points and spread it around.
It sits on an ancient riverbed, the sediment of which has lain dormant for centuries. The immediate challenge for farmers is what to do with all that sand.
So from an agricultural point of view, this is obviously a big challenge. You wouldn't put a mower across that, you wouldn't put a harvester across it. And so that was the initial focus of what we were trying to do in terms of rehabilitation here.
The research teams have analysed and tested most of the different types of affected soils, and early signs are showing no two are alike.
So those little fellows we want to see, they're going to be the ones helping do this, the mixing of this stuff.
So out there on the gravels, you just don't get this sort of level of liquefaction, whereas it's this bluey grey sand at depth between sort of 1.5 and 3 metres.
Yeah. At
this location is what's liquefying, because you've got a very high water table here.
Most farmers are simply spreading the sediment around, but it's an unfamiliar problem and largely trial and error.
If you've got heavy growth or heavy feed demands for a particular paddock, you may choose to just leave it and just graze it down as heavily as you can, then remediate. Or if you want to take it through, maybe it's better to wait until April, March to remediate then. So farmers aren't silly, they'll know exactly what they need to do.
Peter Arman says the experiences from landowners varies from case to case, but most reported similar phenomena.
These things were sometimes boiling sand for about 4 hours. So they would be pulsing water, but the water was very gas-filled. So one chap we talked to said it sounded like the loudest spa bath you could ever imagine.
Here in Lincoln, much of the agricultural land is very low-lying. Right now we're about 3 or 4 metres below sea level. And what you find is that under the topsoil, you get a fine, wet layer of sand. And during the earthquake, that was all forced up through fissures and became bubbles or blisters, or as one neighbour called them, Teletubby houses, just big lumps of sand which now cover this agricultural soil, rendering it almost essentially useless. And most farmers will be hoping it's an event that's not repeated, in the short term at least.
This happened at 4:30 in the morning. It was dark, it was cold, they got shaken to bits. Their houses, some of them broke. I don't mean they fell down on their heads, but their houses cracked. And they went to rush outside, and rushing outside they heard water everywhere, thought the river was flooding, then heard this air, saw sand boiling up, and they probably thought it was Judgment Day or something. It was a very scary experience for them.
Drew Chappell, Country 99 TV News.